Look at that. Now you've all seen my Rocky Horror Picture Show lunchbox. And that's kind of how the film opens. Welcome back. Yeah, we're just drinking it on ice now. Are we ready? So as you know, the movie opens with those lips singing. But I found, usually that's the poster too, but I found an alternate poster here that I had never seen before. Look at that. An alternate one sheet. He's the hero. That's right, the hero. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, 20th Century Fox presents. And yeah, I'm not going to read it off of here. That's kind of hard to read. Rated R. I'm going to keep this poster. Okay. 1975, 20th Century Fox. And I'm going to say somehow RKO Radio Pictures is involved. Director Jim Sharman. Starring Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, Barry Bostwick, Meatloaf. We just lost Meatloaf a little while ago. I've heard some good and bad about that, but you know, as an artist, Meatloaf was great. Bat Out of Hell. And Richard O'Brien, who not only figures prominently in the movie, but also created this whole thing. Just out of his head. Okay. Watching this on video gave me a whole new perspective on this movie. I had survived the theater experience dozens of times in the 80s. Grabbing that local paper to put over your head, you know, because stuff's flying. You know, when the squirt guns and toast, and of course some idiot, you know, will throw their whole drink. But the theater experience I just described there leaves the viewer a little distracted, to say the least, from the actual picture. While I would still say that you haven't really seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show until you've seen it in the theater with all of the audience dialogue and shenanigans, the movie does stand on its own as a movie, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. We begin with one of the best opening sequences ever put to film. You saw it there on my lunchbox. A pair of fire engine red lips on a black screen which commenced to singing science fiction double feature. And I'm not going to sing it because we'll probably get in trouble. Since J&B hasn't sponsored me yet. First movie I actually get a review, I actually get some ad revenue. It'll get taken away. After this intro, we meet our heroes, hero and heroine, Brad Bostwick and Janet Sarandon, at a wedding. One musical number. If you haven't figured out by now, this is a musical. Since we're talking about musicals tonight. And they are off to see an old friend, Dr. Scott. And we'll have some scotch in honor of Dr. Scott. In the pouring rain, their car breaks down, and they set off on foot to an old castle they had seen along the way. Creepy old house. You know, we just talked about how the creepy old house in Vampires with a Y reminded me of the Frankenfurter house. Drenched, they are welcomed in by Riffraff O'Brien, the butler, and led to a banquet hall full of partygoers. I got an itch right there. I want to smudge my makeup. Okay, hold on. My studio's here in the basement, and earlier I walked into a spider web and I rubbed my eyebrows across my forehead. I had to go fix them. Okay. Anyway, we've got a banquet hall full of partygoers who are doing a dance called the Time Warp. I honestly, I don't know where you've been if every time I name one of these songs you don't hear it in your head. I know I do. Next comes Dr. Frankenfurter, Curry. Tim Curry, just an amazing actor. I wrote here, a gender-bending freak of a scientist who leads all up to his lab to witness his new creation, which he's very proud of. What the good doctor has created is a golden Adonis named Rocky, presumably for immoral purposes. Well, I think he sings that and makes it pretty clear. Something about making him a man. Rocky is brought to life, but the shindig is briefly derailed by Eddie. Biker Eddie, played by Meatloaf. He sings a number, Sweet Patootie, bless my soul, before being murdered by the doc. Brad and Janet are invited, more like forced, to spend the night. They are shown to their rooms by the help, Columbia, a kind of a Betty Boop-like showgirl with short red hair, and the goth before there was goth, Maid, Magenta. And during the night, Dr. Frankenfurter pays each of them a carnal visit. I was probably 16 when I first saw this movie. Yeah. Eye-opening for me. In their rooms... Oh, here we go. In their rooms, Brad and Janet both find themselves seduced by Dr. Frankenfurter in a hilariously similar manner. Finally, Dr. Scott arrives, and Frankenfurter has all of his guests to an awkward dinner party, where the main course is meatloaf. Meanwhile, Rocky gets loose and, seeking refuge from the dogs, hides in the container where he was born. Defiled and despondent Janet finds him there, and, well, now that she's tasted blood, she wants more. Believe it or not, it just gets crazier from there. The guests and Columbia are turned to stone, arranged on a stage, and then unfrozen to sing yet another musical number until all of this is interrupted by Riff Raff and Magenta. And I'll leave it there. You won't know why. Like you haven't seen this. You've all seen this, right? So let's just get to it. I called this movie a perfectly insane masterpiece. Five rings. It's a 5-ring circus tonight on Feature 2, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, years later, I don't think I knew when I was in my 20s, teens and 20s, that this started also as an off-Broadway play. But it did, and years later, I got to go to a lesbian bar, and I got to see the Rocky Horror Show. I got to see them act this out. Live people on a stage act this out right in front of me. And it was great. So if a theater troupe in your town puts on a live version of the Rocky Horror Show, check it out. If you haven't been to see this in the theater, go see it in the theater so everybody can, you don't have to tell them that you've never seen it before, that you're a virgin. They'll drag you up on stage there and kind of taunt you. But you don't have to tell them. Just go and see the whole experience. But I would also say, watch the movie, because the movie's really good. Okay. I do believe I'll be filming next week. Monkey's here. So we'll pick something. I know I got a short weekend, but it's kind of a weird work schedule, so I don't think it's short like normal. What do you think? This long straight one? Or one of these? Okay. Oh, we're really going to go back in time next week. We have a couple of classics from the 50s. The Brain That Wouldn't Die, and a great little film called The Gamma People that you may have missed. But we'll get there next week. So, if any of my Indonesian, Indian, Saudi Arabian, Pakistani friends, or as my friend Jose says, Pakistanyard, if you made it this far, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down if you hated it. Let me know in the comments what happened the first time you saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Or if you had a similar experience with Little Shop of Horrors and was sitting there with an extreme sense of deja vu. Subscribe. Despite getting 600-700 views in 20 hours, I still don't have that many subscribers. So follow along so you can see what I talk about every week. Good night, kids.